back when I was still at the zoo, so we're talking like the 1990s, um, I discovered these cool little devices that are for measuring temperature. And this is one here. This is actually the second version that I'm aware of that this company has produced. The first one was the Hobo Tidbit, and this one is the Tidbit V2. So a little update. And basically, it's a little computer embedded in epoxy. So it's a solid unit. You can't go in here and change the battery or do anything because it's all just completely sealed in epoxy resin. And these things are, I wouldn't say indestructible, but they're really, really rugged. You can put them down in the depths of the ocean, and you know, pressure is no problem, leakage is no problem. And the way they communicate with the computer is through light. So it uses fiber optics to shine light into these two little bumps here. And try to blow it up a little bit. So there's two little bumps right here that allow a connection to be made with your computer. Now, I've worked with these things, like I said, for a couple decades, and I've used different housings to hold them in place. I think one time I had a Coke can that I used that I attached to a rock. It kind of looked like trash, so that people wouldn't mess with it. So I've tried different ways of doing this, and the most recent incarnation is this driveway stake that is made out of fiberglass, and one can push it down into the substrate, and still it holds onto the temperature logger. Holds it a little bit above the surface of the substrate. So when you buy these things, they're 48 inches long. So I've put the ruler here at the tip, so the tip is pointed, so you can easily shove it down into the dirt along the edge of your driveway, so you know where to plow in the wintertime. That's the actual real reason that people make and sell these things, but I've adapted them for kind of a scientific purpose here. So we'll put our ruler here at the tip, and then I took and drilled a hole in a PVC fitting. So this is a 3/4 inch Schedule 40 PVC coupling, and I just took a power drill and drilled a hole through it, through either side, so I could shove the rod in and it would fit nice and snug. And I also put a couple of zip ties or wire wraps here on either side of the hole through the PVC fitting, so that it would stay put and not move around much along the fiberglass rod. And again, here's our PVC fitting snugly in place, and then I've got the data logger up here attached to the rod by zip ties. And at the top end of this when you buy it from the hardware store, it's got some shiny reflective material on the upper end, so you can easily see it, in the wintertime when you're out there trying to snow blow your driveway. And I want to make this thing as inconspicuous as possible so that I can find it, but the average fisherman isn't going to really give it much notice. So I took the precaution of wrapping the top end in electrical tape to kind of dull that down. Here's my little childish shop drawing showing the distances here. So from the tip of the rod to the center of the PVC fitting is 55 centimeters, okay? And then from the PVC fitting to where the hobo data logger attaches, that's 13 centimeters. So that's right about here on my little picture. And then all the rest of it, this is not drawn to scale, is 54 centimeters from where the logger is to the very tippy top. And all that works out to be about 122 centimeters long, or about 48 inches. And when you stand this up in my hypothetical lake, the bottom part is driven into the sediment up to the stopper, so the PVC fitting is here, and then there's those 13 centimeters between the theoretically the top of the sediment and where the temperature sensor is located, and then whatever's left is the depth of water above the temperature sensor. And of course this up here does vary, we get waves, and the lake level does fluctuate a few inches over the course of a year, so that changes. But I've found that this position where I have the temperature sensor located has, over the last decade or so that I've been working out here, is always covered by water. So there's always some water above the sensor. Now, I do have in my records the exact longitude and latitude of the location where this stake is positioned in the mussel bed. And it's, those of you that have been out here know that this end over here is sort of the north west end of the mussel bed. There's a lot going on over here. There's a lot of mussels that live over here too. But this is where I've selected way back when as being a good spot to measure temperature, and I've stuck with that over the years. And I'm deliberately not going to put those coordinates on this video, in part just to maintain a little bit of mystery about this, because I don't want folks going out there and fooling around with this. This video is intentionally dark because I wanted to show you the flashy light. So when this thing is actually working, a little diode flashes once in a while to give you a little bit of comfort that everything is working properly electronically. And once it's been deployed, find it, bring it back, snip off the zip ties, and I stick it into the end of the adapter. So here's the data logger, kind of the back end of it, and it's shoved onto the business end of this rod, and the other end of that is connected to a USB port into the side of the computer. So as with most things these days, it involves a computer. Go into my desktop here, and I select the Hobo software. That's proprietary software that comes with the device. And it is free these days. You can just download it from the internet. It costs, the costs here are the hardware. So the data loggers themselves are about $120 a pop, and then the other bits and cable and the adapter and stuff that goes with that, I think that was another maybe a couple $100. Once you have the adapter, you can buy all new temperature sensors or replicates all day and night. As long as your money's green, they're happy to sell you more. So when you open the software, it looks something like this. And I'm going to select the icon up here that's going to give me a readout. So I've already got data has been accumulating on the memory card of the tidbit data logger, and what I want to do is get that off of there and get it into the computer so I can work with it. I also want to stop it because I'm done for the season. I've decided to just do this for the summertime, and I want to put it away and have it still be good. I don't really care what the temperature on my desk is over the winter, so I'm going to turn it off basically, and that'll conserve the battery life, because as I said, you can't change the battery. Once it's dead, it's dead. And it's given me a warning here. Are you sure? Are you sure you want to turn this thing off? Yes, that's right, I do. And of course, it lets me select where I want to park this data when it takes it off the data logger, where I want to store it on the computer. And I've decided to give it a name. I usually name these things, these files, for the day upon which I download them. And that isn't necessarily the same day as I retrieve them. So we'll get into that here in a minute. There's a little bit of data trimming that you have to do to make sense of this, because as I said, I don't really care what the temperature is on my desk or in the boat as I'm taking it down there. What I care about is what's it doing when the thing is deployed in the water. And it gives you options when you do this for how do you want the data stored. Do you want it in Celsius or Fahrenheit? And I like Celsius. And you click the button and it dumps it all in, and it even draws you a nice little graph. And this is all of the temperatures from when I started the thing to when I downloaded it. So all the way over to here, right? So clearly there's some weird wiggle stuff going on, and that's due to conditions before and after I actually had the thing parked where it's supposed to be and measuring water temperature. So what I'm really interested in is this middle part. Right? Now the proprietary software does draw graphs, it does give tables and so on. I kind of like to work in Excel though, because I understand Excel. So we're going to, in a little bit here, we're going to transfer that data over to Excel. Before I leave though, I want to point out, and one of the things I rather kind of like about this new version of the data logger that they've come out with is it gives some diagnostics really easily. So I can tell, like, for example, how much battery life is, and it looks like the battery's good and strong. How much memory is in use. All of that is good stuff. And by the way, I kind of just by convention have been measuring temperature every 15 minutes for a long time. So I've stuck with that. I kind of like the every 15-minute logger interval, but you can pick it to be whatever you want. The more frequent the interval, quicker the interval, the faster that eats up memory though. So 15 minutes seems pretty reasonable to me, and it still gives me plenty of time on each logger before it has to be downloaded. All right, so as I promised, I want to transfer this data over to Excel, and there is a tab up here in the proprietary software that allows for that. And I'm going to go ahead and hit export. And after a little bit of fiddling around in Excel that I'm not going to go into, I've got this down to 3 nice columns. So all the raw data that came out of that temperature sensor is here in these 3 columns. So I've got the date, the time, and the temperature in Celsius. And these new ones are reading to the nearest thousandth of a degrees Celsius. So they're really, really precise, and I've determined years ago quite accurate. You can tear your hair out analyzing these just thousands and thousands of data points. But what I've done for this video is just a quick little summary to give you a flavor for what's going on. Having done this for a number of years out at Crooked Lake, I found that July and August tend to be the warmest water temperature months. So let's just look at those two. And this summer in July, we had a mean water temperature of 27, a little over 27 degrees Celsius. The instantaneous high that was recorded was 30, just a little over 30 degrees, and the low was 23, a little over 23. August was a little bit cooler. Not a whole lot, but a little bit cooler from July, and on average. The high temperature, though, was a little bit higher, and the low temperature was a little bit higher than it had been in July. And most people, me included, like to know how did that compare to the past? And for a number of years, I was doing water temperature collection out here, and I pulled out some averages for the months of July and August for the years 2009 through 2012, just so we have something to compare 2022. This is the exact same location, and what I found was that those monthly averages, if you just look at July, July monthly average in 2009 was somewhere between 24 and 25, and in later years, 2010, 2011, 2012, it was quite a bit higher. So these are average numbers for July. So we have really quite a range there for average temperatures. And August was somewhere in between those values. The averages that we saw just this summer were pretty close together, and pretty close to about mid-range, I'd say, for the historical records that we have. So, despite global warming, climate change, and so forth, at least at this one little spot in this one little lake, we're not seeing a huge increase in temperature, at least summer temperatures on average, in 2022 compared to some years back. By the way, this interval in between, so 2013 through the early 2000s, was a hiatus when I wasn't really taking temperature data. Well, that's about it for this week. I'll let you go for now, and we'll do something different next time I see you. Bye.